Hey, what's going on, movie lovers all over the world? This is your boy Testify to the Music, aka Mikey Savage 21, bringing you another movie review. And today we're going to be focusing on the 2016 American superhero film known as Captain America Civil War, which stars Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Sebastian Stan, Anthony Mackie, Don Cheadle, Jeremy Renner, Chadwick Boseman, Paul Bettany, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Rudd, Emily VanCamp, Tom Holland, Frank Grillo, William Hurt, and Daniel Brühl, and was directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, also known as the Russo brothers, and it serves as the sequel to Captain America the First Avenger and Captain America Winter Soldier. Now, before I get any further into this, I'm going to let you guys know, put up a big spoiler alert. This is going to be my spoiler review for the movie Captain America Civil War. It's been out for a few weeks now, so if you haven't seen it by now, then what are you doing? You should have been seeing this awesome film. But alright, so what I'm going to do is the same thing I did in a previous video, which is my Batman vs. Superman video, which I'll link in the description below. I'm going to give off a list of things that I liked, and also give a list of things that I disliked, and then at the end, I'll talk about some scenes that could have been changed or taken out. So jumping right straight into it, the first thing I'd have to say about this film, well, first off, going off of the list of things that I liked, the first thing would be the storyline. I'll have to say one thing about Captain America, all of them, they have a fantastic, great storyline. The storyline isn't convoluted. There are not that many plot holes. It's pretty much straightforward. You know exactly what you're getting into once you watch the first 10 minutes of the film of each one. So I have to say, when it comes to the storyline, Captain America has to be one of Marvel's best ones, along with a few other feature films like Ant-Man, the first Iron Man, and some other ones, that I'll mention later on in other videos as well. But I just had to say that's one of the first things I liked was a storyline. It was a good storyline. I knew the storyline going into this. And also, as a little sub thing going with the storyline, I like how they're willing to stray away from the comic book and not exactly follow it to the T. That's one thing Marvel is known for. They use the comic book as a reference, as not so much as a script, and because they have a tendency to go away from the comic book, which I absolutely love, because I don't want to see something that's exactly like the comic book. If I want the comic book version, I would just go buy the comic book. But getting into number two, the second thing, the introduction of new characters. Now, if you guys don't know, and again, this is spoiler review, I make sure I have the spoiler banner up there in the corner or somewhere on the screen. We got introduced to two new characters here. We got introduced to T'Challa, also known as Black Panther, and he's played by Chadwick Boseman. And we also got introduced to Peter Parker / Spider-Man, who is portrayed by Tom Holland. And I have to say, Marvel did a fantastic job introducing these two new characters. Now, you would think, with all the names that I listed off starring in there, you would think, with all of those characters in there, you would think, oh man, this movie is too crowded. There's no way they can cram two more names in there as well. Well, they did, and they did a fantastic job of this. I will have to say, Chadwick Boseman, his portrayal of T'Challa, Black Panther, was spot on completely. I have to say, he is actually one of my favorite characters walking out of this movie. Just his quips and the dialogue that he has, and the scene that he has with Hawkeye, where Hawkeye's like, hey, my name is Hawkeye, I don't think we've met, I do not care. His just portrayal of and the way he presents himself on screen, my gosh, it's fantastic casting. I am so looking forward to the Black Panther movie coming out next year. I'm going to be right there front row ready to see this thing. And I'm bragging, of course, I have to talk about Spider-Man. Now, of course, everybody on the internet and everybody and their mama has been talking about, oh, this is the best Spider-Man that we have ever gotten. I will simply say these two things. One, he was only in the movie for maybe all of 15 minutes. So we can't say that he is the best Spider-Man that we have gotten. Two, I will say his portrayal was very spot on, and it fit very well with the comic book. It's like ripping Spider-Man straight from the comic book with all the quirkiness and the talking during the multiple fights, and how he presents himself and his awkwardness when he first meets Tony Stark, and how he carries himself, even down to the costume that he wears. They got this Spider-Man right. They did it right. But again, we can't necessarily say he's the best Spider-Man ever, because again, even if you didn't like Sam Raimi's version or even like the Amazing Spider-Man series, you have to give him credit for saying that each one was a step up from the last one. Tobey Maguire brought something new that nobody else had brought to this character. Same thing goes with Andrew Garfield. He brought something to the character that Tobey Maguire didn't bring. Just like Tom Holland brought something that both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire didn't bring to the table. So again, perfect casting all around. Chadwick Boseman is a fantastic Black Panther. Same can be said about Spider-Man. Tom Holland did a fantastic job portraying Spider-Man. I won't go into too much spoiler territory because I want to save some things for you in the film, but let's just say when you first see Black Panther appear on screen, heads start turning. You know exactly what's about to happen as soon as he appears on screen. Also, again, with Peter Parker, as soon as you hear them say Queens, you're like, oh, I already know where we're going. We're going to get Peter Parker. So the third thing, leading right off of characters, I'd have to say the third thing would be Giant Man. Now, of course, Marvel had accidentally leaked out some toys, revealing to everyone that Giant Man was going to be in the film. But of course, once you get to the course of the film, you're still wondering, I wonder is Giant Man going to really make an appearance, or was that just something just to kind of get us excited and they're not going to live through with it? They went through with it and they lived it out, and oh my gosh, Paul Rudd's portrayal of Giant Man here, going from Ant-Man to Giant Man, I've only done this once in the laboratory and I fainted. It should be okay though. And then and how he just grows into a freaking giant. My goodness gracious. I have to say, Giant Man here made me laugh. Paul Rudd in his Giant Man form was absolutely hilarious. The way he just held on to War Machine, and he's like, where you going? And just how he was just playing and messing with him. And then the overall demise and defeat of Giant Man. How Spider-Man is just like, hey, you guys remember that really old movie? And then Don Cheadle, his character, War Machine, is like, Tony, how old is this kid? I don't know, on the young side? Where did you find him at? Just all around, my goodness, the characters, just Giant Man and his interaction with everybody, from Tony Stark to War Machine to Spider-Man to Vision, how they all just played off of each other here with Giant Man. Have to say, one of the highlights of the film. Again, all the characters here did a phenomenal job. Each character got their own moment to shine, so no character was more important than the other. Everyone had equal screen time, but you could obviously tell that this was a Captain America movie. They kept the focus on Captain America and made sure you knew, hey, this is a Captain America film with just some of the Avengers in there. Alright, going into my third thing, we have to talk about the cinematography. And what I mean by the cinematography, I mean the grand scope of each set piece or location that they filmed in. I mean, from the opening sequence of being into the auditorium where Tony Stark is giving the presentation to where they get the Lagos / Wakanda, all the way back to the city and the different sets and the Avengers Tower and how it all looks. They just did a fantastic job here with all of that. I have to give the Russo brothers this. They know what they're doing behind the camera. Even during the fight sequences, the cinematography was on point. A lot of people, when they do fight scenes, they like to do that jump cut scene where you're fighting and then you jump to another scene. And what they did here is they kept the camera focused on the characters the whole time and let them fight. Oh, and also as a minor little side note, apparently they got the guys from the Raid to come in here and help with the fight choreography, and it shows. You can tell that they were definitely trained. You can tell this was definitely perfect. The cinematography, oh my gosh, even the little brief clip we get of Wakanda and how beautiful it is and how advanced it looks and everything. My gosh, just, the Russo brothers, my goodness, can they do no wrong? Everything here just looked phenomenal. And just the grand scope of things, again, just how it all looks. I mean, the bright colors, and then you still have dark and dreary moments. Just perfect camera work. I just had to say perfect camera work. Perfect camera work. So going on to my number 4 thing I have to talk about would be the fights, especially the 4 main fights, and I've broken them up here to kind of describe each individual fight. So the first big action set piece that we see is in Lagos, Wakanda, and pretty much this is where it's the new Avengers going after Crossbones. They have found out that he's in Lagos and they're trying to go after him. The second biggest fight would be the freeway/tunnel fight chase sequence, which is Black Panther versus Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, and Captain America, how they're all chasing each other, and then War Machine comes in there later on. The third one would be the airport sequence, which everybody is raving and talking about how awesome it is, which is just pretty much Team Iron Man versus Team Captain America. And at the end of the video, I'll talk about the individual teams and everything, just as a little bit of a bonus to this review. And then, of course, you have the final fight sequence where they're inside the base, and it's Iron Man versus Bucky Barnes on Captain America. I'll have to say that was a good fight sequence. I thought they couldn't top the airport sequence because of the grand scope of things and how many characters they had in there. I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. You just, again, the grand scope of things and how many characters you see, it's just mind-blowing how many characters that they had in here. And again, the camera scene was on everybody. There weren't that jump cut scenes. When you have Black Widow going against Hawkeye, and you have Vision going against Scarlet Witch, and you have Captain America going against Iron Man, you have Bucky Barnes going against Spider-Man, and also going against Black Panther. All the individual fight scenes in this airport sequence were amazing. But then a lot of people, they don't talk much about the final sequence as well. There was a lot of action going on towards the final fight sequence of here, where you have Iron Man, who has just made a shocking discovery about Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, and about Captain America, and how that all comes to circle at the end of the film. Alright, so getting from the fights, I would have to talk about, my next point would have to be the serious tone. And what I mean by the serious tone, you could tell this wasn't a friendly fight. These guys and gals were out for blood, and it shows the repercussions of superhero fights and how they affect people around them. Not just affecting like the buildings and stuff, but how it can affect people and have a greater lasting effect.
But you can't stop worrying. Therefore, you get additionally worried.
Again, here in this film, they show the repercussions of what happens when superheroes take measures into their own hands, which this, plays into the whole Sokovia Accords, where, their government is saying, hey, we need to regulate you guys and keep you in check, and we'll let you know when you need to get involved and when you don't need to get involved. And what I also like is how they reference the 3 big things that happen, really the 4 big things that lead to the Sokovia Accords. First, of course, you have the Tatari invading, and that's at the end of the Avengers, the first movie. Then, of course, you have the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., what happened in Captain America, Winter Soldier, of course. Then, of course, you have what happened in the events of Age of Ultron at the end of that. And then that leads into right where there's a specific event that happens at the beginning of the film where... And again, I don't want to spoil too much. This is a spoilers review, but you know what? Full spoilers all ahead. Full spoilers all ahead. You should have seen the film by now. But the sequence where Crossbones tries to blow himself up, and Scarlet Witch traps him in a force field and shoots him into the air, but doesn't do it close enough to the sky and away from the building, and a bunch of people end up dying. I like how they reference all 4 of those, which lead to the Sokovia Accords. And in this film, people die. And of course, if you have seen the film or if you haven't seen the film, I'll go ahead and let you know none of our main heroes die, but there are a lot of human casualties in this movie, all around, to the point where this seemed like it could have been on Marvel's Daredevil, where it could have been on Marvel's Daredevil series on Netflix, because it was just that crazy. I mean, people were dying left and right because of these guys taking the law in their own hand and fighting. They're doing it for us, but at the same time, there are serious actions to what they do. So leading into my last 2 points, of course, would have to be the jokes that are shown throughout the film. Of course, I love the banner between Bucky Barnes and Falcon. It's just kind of like, I'm Cap's best friend. Well, I'm Cap's oldest best friend. The banner between those guys is just absolutely hilarious. Where it's absolutely hilarious. Where he's just like, "Can you scoot your seat up?" "No, I won't scoot my seat up." And it's just, what, dude? It's just all over the board, crazy here. And of course, most of the main jokes come from Paul Rudd. Of course, Ant-Man is the comical guy, which we love. We love Paul Rudd for that. And of course, Tom Holland brought some very comedic moments in when he was on the screen, especially when he was fighting Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where he's just like, "Dude, you have a metal arm?" And then Falcon's like, "Oh, everybody has a gimmick now." And it's just funny, the jokes they have throughout here. But the jokes don't ruin the serious tone of the film, which I like. I like how it didn't ruin the serious tone of the film. And of course, the last thing I'll mention in this list of the 8 things that I liked would be Baron Zemo. Now, I know a lot of people have complained, about Baron Zemo and how he really didn't need to be in this film. I will say I see what they were going for here, and I like it. I like how he was utilized. I like how he was ultimately the downfall and cause of the Avengers to split up from the regular Avengers to the Secret Avengers. I like how he was just orchestrating everything. It was just phenomenal how everything was orchestrated, down from setting up everyone to reprogramming Bucky Barnes with the special code that you have to say to activate the Winter Soldier program that's inside of his head, to him leading to discovery of who really killed Tony's parents and everything, and who knew about it and who was trying to cover it up. And then again, Baron Zemo here, you see what happened, and he even tells you when Black Panther has him cornered, he tells him about what happened in Sokovia and how his family was killed, and how when he went to find them, he saw his dad grasping his dead wife and son's body. Oh my God, that was a heart-wrenching moment right there. There's some tear-jerker moments in here too, but just the way he's explaining it, and you just really see the repercussions of what the Avengers have done, especially in Sokovia, when the entire city was dropped. And the entire city was dropped. The city is gone. Essentially, the city is completely gone. And I just like how they utilize Baron Zemo here. And at the same time, while you despise this guy, you also feel for him and understand his motivations of why he did what he did. But getting into the final couple of portions of the segment of this extended spoilers review for Captain America Civil War, we'll go into the things I didn't like, and surprisingly, I only have 2 things that I didn't like about this film. One is a little major, and one is more nitpicky-ish. The first one, which is the major one, would be Baron Zemo. I know what I just said. I know I said that was on my list of things I liked. I like Baron Zemo, and I like what they were going for here. But I do see where, yeah, you could have taken him out, and they still would have fought. It wouldn't have been as much tension, or there wouldn't have been that much of aggression to the fight. But I think even without him, the Sokovia Accords and everything still would have happened, especially with Scarlet Witch blowing up blowing up that building in Lagos, Wakanda, and how T'Chaka was upset about it, and how he was pushing for the Accords to be signed, and how all these countries were getting behind it. And then having General Ross come in and be like the proprietor of this, where he's heading up the entire thing and saying, "Hey guys, you need to get regulated, and we need to get you checked, because you are just killing way too many people, and there are way too many casualties when you guys get involved." While at the same time, he makes a speech about, while some see you as a hero, others see you as a vigilante. They see you as dangerous because, again, while you do save people, at the same time, people die. And Baron Zemo was a product of what the Avengers did in Sokovia. But again, I think if you take him out, it would have still been a great film. But again, that's just like one little major thing. The nitpicky thing I would have to say is we didn't get to see Vision do that much in the airport fight. I know we saw him fly up, and we didn't really focus on him that much. I mean, we saw him here and there in the screen, but we really didn't see him fight that much. I mean, I mean, he was a crucial part of the film and everything, and we got to see he had lots of screen time, especially with Scarlet Witch and their relationship that they have going. We didn't really see him doing that much fighting, which I can understand because he's like almost one of the most powerful guys there. So I guess if he was really, really serious about it and everything, he probably would have taken out a lot of Captain America's team. But at the same time, he's also still, he mentions how, he doesn't know what the Mind Stone does and how he's still trying to learn to control it and understand it and all his powers that he has. So again, that's like a minor nitpicky thing. But wrapping this on up, going into the last segment of this extended review, I would have to say scenes that could have been changed or taken out, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. While I agree that Baron Zemo, didn't necessarily need to be in there, I'm glad that the scenes with him were in there because, again, it gives us more of a segue into the next segment so we're not confused as to, wait a minute, why are they fighting each other so bad? With the stuff with Baron Zemo, it explains it all. I like how they explain it and how everything is going. So I would change absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Take nothing out. But with that being said, guys, giving this a review, giving this film my score, I would have to give this film at least a 5 out of 5, if not 6 out of 5. This film really exceeded my expectations. I went in there with very, very high expectations, especially because of the last Captain America movie that we had. I went in there with high expectations, and they blew all of my expectations out of the water. Each fight scene got better and better, and they stepped it up with more choreography and everything. I really think the Russo brothers did a fantastic job here, especially getting the guys in to help with the choreography and everything with the raid team. That was a smart idea, and I am so glad that the Russo brothers are actually going to be segueing us into Infinity Wars and what's going to be going on there, because if they can duplicate what they did in Captain America and make it even better with even more characters in there and more character build up and more backstory behind these characters and everything, then we're going to have ourselves one heck of a film. So I have to say, either I would give this a 5 out of 5 or a 6 out of 5 easily. This film is definitely something you should check out in theaters. And again, with these reviews, I'm glad you guys watch and you want to gauge and get my opinion. I really appreciate that. But at the end of the day, if you don't think it's worth going seeing, I completely understand. Get your own opinion for it. But I will say, if you go see this, you will not walk out disappointed from that theater. For those of you who went to see Batman vs. Superman, you might have been let down by it. This film makes up for that plus more. Plus, you have Suicide Squad to look forward to in August. So again, I give this a 5 out of 5 or 6 out of 5. But have you seen the film yet? If you have not seen the film yet, what are you doing? Hurry up and go see it. Like now. Like absolutely drop this video and go see it right now. But before you do that, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below and use the hashtag Civil War to talk about this in the comment section. Also, make sure you smash that like button before you leave and go see Captain America. It helps out the channel immensely, and I really appreciate it. Also, make sure you check out some of the other reviews that I have. I'll make sure I have a link to those in the description below. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this extended spoilers-filled review. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a blessed day, and peace out. I'm Testified to the Music, aka Mikey Savage. I'm Testified to the Music, aka Mikey Savage 21, saying peace out. And go see Captain America. Like now. Do it now. Now. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger says, do it now. Do it now. Okay, I'm done.